What do you think Mom's going to say?
You're insane.
Yeah, she'll probably say something crazy. So we're going to have to try to get this done without her seeing what we're doing.
You could probably lock the door.
We can lock the door in the barn. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. It is a brisk 40 degrees here in Sketchyville today. So we're a little bundled up, but today we are going to be changing the fuel pump on the old girl. She is a 2002 Chevy Suburban with a 5.3 liter flex fuel engine in it. Now these fuel pumps are a little difficult to get at because they are inside the fuel tank. You got to drop the whole fuel tank, and this old girl has a 33-gallon fuel tank, so it is a huge, long monster underneath her. We're gonna get her pulled in the barn, gonna start tearing things down, and hopefully by the time we get it all torn down, the part will be here that we can swap out the fuel pump. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Okay, so we wanted to take the time to just give you a brief rundown of how we diagnose the fuel pump. Basically what we do is we take the cover off here, and right back here there is a pressure relief valve, also threaded, and so you can take a fuel pressure tester such as this. And where did we get this? Our favorite store?
Harbor Freight.
Okay, so we just went down to Harbor Freight, grabbed one of these. You pick the right end, which in our case was this one right here. Attach it to the gauge, plug it into that, and then when you engage the ignition without turning it over, the fuel pump normally kicks in, and it should read around 50 pounds of pressure. So the fuel pump itself isn't bad. However, there is a check valve in the fuel pump itself that prevents the fuel from backflowing after it's pressurized on the ignition. And what happened in this case is when we hooked up the pressure gauge to the relief area, the pressure built to 50 and then immediately just fell off as soon as the fuel pump stopped pumping. So that tells me that the check valve in that fuel pump is bad, and it's just letting fuel flow right back into the fuel tank. So that's why we couldn't get her started, is because as soon as the pump stopped on starting, we had no fuel pressure and no fuel, no spark, no air. There's your three no's when you're trying to start a vehicle.
It took us 6 times.
Six times to figure it out.
To at least start the truck and get it into the barn.
Yes. So one of the tricks to getting it started in those cases is that you can flip the ignition about 4 or 5 times in a row, let it get enough fuel up in there, and then on the 5th time as it's engaging the pump, you try to turn it over. It's hit or miss. So what we're going to do is we are going to get this fuel pump swapped out and hopefully have her running by the end of the day. All right, we're gonna crawl under here first and take a look at what we got going on, see what kind of a issue we're gonna be running through here. All right, well, there's the fuel tank. You see, she goes all the way down there. Basically stretches from about the middle of the vehicle all the way back to over the rear axle.
This is one big fuel tank.
Yes, it is. Okay, there is a bunch of rust up in here. We knew that. I mean, obviously.
She is called the old girl.
Yeah, she's called that for a reason, isn't she?
Yep.
Okay. Looking at what straps we have. Oh, those bolts are not going to want to come out.
We could probably use a heater.
Yeah, the straps are going to be real tight. I'm afraid of breaking those.
I do not want to.
Yeah. Okay, well, we need to rethink how we're going to do this, so
Yep.
let's go do some research. Okay, everybody, this job just got a ton more interesting. Just wait till you see what we're going to be doing. So we did some research, tried to figure out an easier way of doing the fuel pump, because it's a rusty mess under there, and I'm just afraid I'm going to break fuel lines. I'm afraid I'm going to break, the straps on the tank, and then I'm in a whole world of hurt. And we're trying to do this inexpensively. We can't afford to be putting any extra money into this. So we were able to find a couple videos on YouTube, all of our best friend, on how to get this done inexpensively. This truck is old. All I do is I use it for around the farm work, and I also use it just to drive to and from work. So, Gideon, what are we going to do?
So we're actually gonna take the seat out, then we're gonna take the flooring out, and then we're gonna make a hole in the floor. We're gonna pull it out, replace the fuel pump, and once we're finished replacing it, we're gonna put the metal back in, put the flooring back in, then we're gonna put the seat back in.
So, let me get this right. We're going to cut a hole in the floor of the truck.
Yes.
What do you think Mom's going to say?
You're insane.
Yeah, she'll probably say something crazy. So, we're going to have to try to get this done without her seeing what we're doing.
You can probably lock the door.
We can lock the door in the barn. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to get the seat taken out. We're going to start getting all the carpeting moved back and out of the way, and grid this thing out so that we can make sure that we're cutting once in the right spot and not making a big old mess of things. So we're going to get started. Okay, so after doing some research, from what we have figured out, if you take a string and wrap it around the posts where the seat actually hooks into the frame there, or to the body, it will actually frame out the area that you need to cut out in order to get to the fuel pump without having to recut over and over because of bad location. So we're going to go ahead and get that all marked off. There are some dimensions. You want to come 3 inches from the horizontal between those two. You want to come off 3 inches on the vertical between these, and you want to come off 5 inches from here to here, and then 5 inches from here to here. That'll make your rectangular area where you want to cut out in order to get right at the fuel pump. So we're going to go ahead and get going on marking it up before we start cutting.
That's American.
Okay, we're going to start with drilling out the corners, and then we'll get to cutting between them.
we accidentally just remembered that there's spot welds all down through here. So we're gonna have to get drilling. Yes! We did not hit the gas tank!
Okay, there it is. That's what we were looking for. And it looks like we
Have lots of rust on it.
do have lots of rust on it. However, we also have a perfect spot to work. I'm going to clean it out a little bit here, and then we will get to getting it out. Now you saw when I bent this back, I left two little spots uncut. They're about 1 inch long each, so that when we get done with this, I can flip this over and we can sheet metal screw back into this cross member here. And then we'll have a solid attaching point so that we're not having to put too much underneath it to hold it back in place. That'll work.
A lot of work.
It's better than taking that tank out the bottom.
And you need to open it up this way more?
Now we'll be able to get in there. We'll get it in there. Just knock that ring off and then pull it right out. And the other one should slip right in. And
Cool.
Get it all closed back up. It's a little redneck, but it'll work.
It's this or the truck doesn't stay here.
What just came?
Some of the mail and the pump.
The fuel pump? Awesome. All right, well, let's get in the barn. Let's get her going. Okay, so as you can see, we got the self-tapping screws in now, and
Pretty sturdy.
it's sturdy. It's in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to use some flashing tape to seal this back up. I figure that's the only thing I can come up in my mind that would be more all-weather to be able to take water or anything else that gets thrown up there, and it's going to stick like heck. So we'll go ahead and get that attached to this, and then we'll start getting the carpet all put back in, and we'll get this thing put back together. Sealed up.
Yep. Now it's time to fold all this stuff back over and tuck it in. it.